Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Real Cyprus brought to you by Dominica Group. I'm Alexandros Tsangaridis.
I'm Kyriakos Charalambos.
And today we're with Eleni Philippou, the senior partner at Polycarpos Philippou Associates LLC. Welcome to the podcast, Eleni.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And as always, as a start, if you could please take some minutes to talk about yourself, your experience so far in the market, and what services you provide.
Yep. Okay, so as Alexandros said, I am Eleni Philippou. I am a senior partner at Philippou Law Firm. We deal primarily with relocation. So we are the relocation experts. We are what you would call in the UK a one-stop shop because we offer property services, as in legal support when buying property, legal support with corporate matters, registrations of companies, immigration support, litigation, wills and estate planning. Therefore, we are basically the one-stop shop with all the needs regarding relocation. I am head of the property department, and I've been doing this for approximately 23 years and a bit, but we won't go there. I think I've lived through different phases of the Cypriot property market, different types of immigration permits, different types of legislation. So I've gone through all of these, and I think Cyprus...
You've seen the bad and the good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's actually a very good pass to us, because one of the things that I wanted to ask you, obviously, your law firm is one of the oldest ones, at least in Paphos for sure, probably in Cyprus as well. So, and as you said, you've seen different eras, right? So let's start from today. What's, let's say, the typical request of today? What type of people they're interested in relocating in Cyprus? And how is that different to what it was, say, 10 years ago?
Well, initially, I think Cyprus has always been the place for mostly British expats, and it was the preferred place for people to retire. So we had a lot of pensioners, particularly in Paphos. It was the place to be. But over the years, we've seen the trend actually changing. We still have our pensioners that are very common. Nothing has changed in that respect. However, we moved on to having investors who were relocating for the purposes of perhaps the golden visa, if we can call it that, which was the permanent residency by investment. And then we have now moved to that the trend is relocation. I think it's mostly COVID and the lockdowns have given a different perspective to people in that they feel that they can work remotely, but live life in a better way. So live life in a place where the weather is better, the lifestyle's better, the food's better. So I think all in all, right now, this is what we are experiencing, the relocation, the permanent residency, because people want to take advantage of a different type of lifestyle.
It's something that is consistent with what we see as well. And we actually discussed it in other episodes, that the average age of the buyer in Paphos is dropping. I'm talking about the foreigners now, which means that younger and younger people are interested, more families. And I think if you extrapolate it, you see it in schools, right? We have it feels we have one new private school every year almost. And in general, it's needed, I believe, because it's one thing to bring people here, but it's another thing to actually keep them. Okay, so now you said different type of people.
Yes.
Where are they from predominantly? At least on your experience.
We deal with a lot of Europeans, so a lot of Northern Europeans, I would say. We still have the relocation need from the relocation requests coming from the UK, from Sweden, from Norway, from Germany, from Poland. So Northern Europeans are looking for the Mediterranean lifestyle, and at the same time taking advantage of the favorable tax situation in Cyprus. We are getting requests for relocations from other people outside of the EU as well, sometimes from Canada and the US. But they're also considering Cyprus along with places like Dubai. And so it's not like Cyprus is not the first choice, let's say. But for the Europeans, the Northern Europeans, I think Cyprus is a very, very high on their list because it's easier. They can, they can easily relocate.
And we have become a very, very good all-around jurisdiction. It's no longer just the sun or just the tax or just this or just that. And the living experience is changing a lot.
Yeah.
I remember for me, because I spent a few years abroad and then I came back when I was 28. Even in that period, the difference was large. But I feel that every passing year, it's becoming like the rate at which things change, thankfully to the right direction, it's quite high. So you went through all of this era, and one of the things that we fight a lot daily with, and one of the favorite subjects that everybody's complaining about, it has to do with KYC, AML, anti-money laundering, all of these shenanigans, right? Which important, but it feels like at least at this stage that we are, Cyprus is a bit on the extreme, let's say, side.
I would agree with you.
What's your view? And
So a lot of people have this idea about Cyprus that perhaps it's a tax haven, that you can just relocate. There won't be a need for a lot of documentation or paperwork. And that's not true. That's not real. Okay. So perhaps in the past, and those foreigners that have an experience from Cyprus from, let's say, 15 years ago, or maybe even 20 years ago, they remember how things were back then, and there wasn't much compliance. But compliance has changed not only in Cyprus, worldwide. So it's a phenomenon that has come to Cyprus. Yes, Cyprus perhaps can be a little bit stricter in comparison to, let's say, Germany or other European countries. But I think this stems from the fact that Cyprus is basically afraid of doing, the wrong things, stepping on the wrong. So they're trying to keep things calculated. It's also something that people need to understand before deciding to relocate or before starting this process. It's important for them to understand that Cyprus is a beneficial jurisdiction. The lifestyle's good, but it's not uncontrolled. So there is structure, there are rules to be followed, and a lot of those rules are based on KYC and anti-money laundering. With regards to the banking side of things, the purchase of assets and everything. So it's a structured country, it's a structured system, and unfortunately or fortunately, we have to follow those procedures to ensure that we don't have money laundering, that we are all safe, and everyone's money in the banking system is safe. It's for all of our benefit. So compliance, unfortunately, needs to be followed.
Still, for me, it's a bit too much, if I need to be honest. It's not, there should be like different categorization of cases, of transactions, etc. But at the same time, it's not my expertise. Just as an end user, I feel that sometimes it's actually one of the things that makes investments in the islands from foreigners or Cypriots to become way more difficult than what they should feel.
I agree with you on that. I agree, because with our daily interaction with banks and buyers of property, and the information we have to give out to the bank to approve the transfer of funds, sometimes it becomes ridiculous. But I think perhaps bank employees need more training, more information, so that they can accept the basic documents without needing to go, all the way and be extravagant in their requests. I agree with you. Sometimes, and it can be daunting for people who try to navigate the relocation without having an understanding from the beginning of what will be required from them. But Kyriako, I think from my experience, when we've had clients that we've helped from day one, so they've contacted us before finding the property, they contacted us before starting on this journey, and we explained everything to them, what's actually going to be required of them, structured everything nicely, explained to them what paperwork they need to get done from the beginning. It seems to work smoothly, and there's not much stress involved for any of the parties, primarily for the buyers. So they know what documents they're going to require. Everything's explained. They find their property. We go to the bank. So that it can be smooth. It just requires planning and understanding from all the parties of what will be required. And then it's not going to be a problem.
From there, and that's going to be my last intervention because I know you have prepared a few stuff that you wanted to ask.
No, we already answered 5 of my questions.
Excellent.
Actually.
Very
That's
good.
amazing.
Very
I'm
good.
just gonna sit back and enjoy it today.
I was actually going to ask you, okay, so we are today, right? A new client comes.
Yes.
A new guy interested in investing in real estate. Okay, since we are here with Domenica, let's talk about real estate predominantly. Although I'm sure it could be for other investments as well, right? What would be your advice? What are the steps that they should take? What do they need to consider? And what's, let's say, on average, the right order of things?
Now, I always say this to everyone. It's plan ahead, and then you won't have problems. No stress, no hassle. So the first piece of advice would be to actually find the team of professionals that you're going to work with. For us, like I said, we're all inclusive, like we do or everything relating to relocation. So let's say that somebody contacts us and says that they are looking at relocating to Cyprus. The first thing that we would do is collect all of their information, their personal information, about what is it that they want to do? What's the purpose, the conditions of the relocation? Is this going to be a retirement place? Is this a relocation with a family? Is this relocation for with an element of tax planning and tax optimization? So we will make the strategy, the plan from the first day, so that the client knows, right, okay, based on these requirements, based on this plan, I need to come out and go and find myself a property in these sort of brackets, which will be, the basis of my residency permit. And then I'm going to do this, then the immigration team will apply for the residency. Our property team will deal with the property purchase. If this is an investor or an entrepreneur, our corporate team will set up the company for him, register the person or the company for tax, perhaps non-dom, tax residency and things like that. So the whole structure falls into place from day one, and the client being in the center of this knows exactly who's doing what and how watches everything unfold. So good planning from the beginning, I believe, is the first step. It's the key, so that they can come out, look for a property, they know the brackets, they know what they're looking for, and it's not going to be a problem later on.
You guys,
And it obviously gonna save you a lot of time.
you guys do the
And
hard
money
job
as well.
of leveling the playing field,
Yeah.
and then they know basically what they
Yeah.
have to do.
If you have a plan, if you have a strategy, it's just following the strategy step by step. And if you do that, then you're not going to have compliance issues later. You're not going to have tax problems later. You're not going to have immigration problems. A lot of people, let's say they're sitting in Sweden or Germany, and they're like, yes, I want to relocate. And many times they start the journey of relocation by first choosing the property. But there are considerations that need to be examined and dealt with before you get to that stage. A lot of countries, especially in Europe, will have exit taxes, or they will have exit restrictions. So when you're trying to prepare your relocation, it's important to consider the whole journey, not just the purchase of the property, but everything that needs to happen in parallel so that you can do what it is that you want to do. Move here, work remotely, travel if you want to travel, so that everything can work according to plan and you don't have any sort of nasty surprises afterwards. Yeah.
Makes sense. Alexander,
Is there any way that we could help on educating people,
I think,
like beforehand?
yeah, I mean, I think the podcasts like yours are very, very important, because if people watch them or if people read, then they know that the first step in the whole process is planning. It's finding your advisors, finding the people you're going, the service providers, and working with them. Another thing that I see very often, like I said, one mistake is not planning ahead. Another mistake that we see quite often is that people will usually search online. They'll find the cheapest provider for services. They'll go with them because they'll think, oh, you know what, a company registration is a company registration. A property purchase is a property purchase. But when you're relocating, it's not just a property purchase. It's not just a company registration. It's a whole system. It's an ecosystem that needs to be able to work. Every piece of the puzzle needs to fit in to the whole picture. And a lot of the times we are called in to try and rescue situations or save people, and that usually ends up costing them more money in the long run.
And it happened just by ignorance.
Yes.
Not from bad.
No. So these are the two first mistakes that I would say we see quite often, and they're easily they can easily be avoided.
With just good planning and.
Correct. A third mistake, if I am allowed, is a lot of times we'll come out to Cyprus. They'll go out on viewing trips with different agents, and they feel the pressure to put down a reservation deposit on buying a property. And again, a lot of times we're contacted after they've paid a reservation deposit.
How do I get out of this?
How do I get, or maybe the property is not appropriate for what it is that they want to do. Or a lot of times they're not given proper reservation agreements with the payment or proper reservation receipts. A lot of times there is small print on some of the estate agents' paperwork to say that your reservation deposit is non-refundable. It's transferable. So some agents will try and lock them, keep them locked with them and things like that. So again, planning ahead, having advisors with you, just to quickly glance over paperwork to ensure that everything's in order, saves you time, saves you money later on, and a lot of stress.
A lot of stress, of
And in
course.
reality, like for us, when a client is represented by like a reputable law firm, it makes our lives so much easier.
Yeah.
The whole process is smooth, the client is well informed, they know, and provided that from your side as a vendor, like us as a developer, we're doing things right, there's only upside. There's no downside.
Yeah.
On the contrary, sometimes the lawyers can pick up mistakes that we do. Again,
Yeah, of course.
honest mistakes or things that. So for us, the whole process is easier. We don't need to educate the client on the legality matters, which let's say it's not our job to do, and we're not fully equipped to do it. We know the law, we work in the law, but it's different
It's
to
not
kind
your jurisdiction.
And moreover, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go straight to the developer, I'm going to sign a contract. A contract is just a contract. It's not. People think that contracts are templated and, a contract is the same everywhere. This is a common misconception, in particular from people coming from what we call civil law jurisdictions, like France, Italy, Germany, because a lot of times a notaire or a notary in these countries will prepare the contract for both sides. And therefore, people think, oh, it's a standard contract, whether it's done by the developer or whether it's done by the buyer's lawyer, it's the same
document.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. And here, because we're a common law jurisdiction, so we follow English law primarily. So the contract, if it's prepared by, let's say, the seller, and it's not reviewed on behalf of the buyer, then a lot of times it's one-sided. Or there could be other clauses added for the buyer's protection. And therefore, yes, it's important to have your own lawyer. From an anti-money laundering perspective and the actual flow of funds, that's also extremely important. Because a lot of buyers think, well, okay, I'm going to go straight to the developer. I'm going to pay the developer directly into his bank account, and that's it. It's not a problem. But it's not. Again, it is a problem because it doesn't matter whose bank account the funds actually go into.
Correct.
Whether they go into the lawyer's account, whether they go into the buyer's own account, because the buyer might have opened an account in Cyprus themselves, or into the developer's account, the banks will still require the whole lot of KYC and anti-money laundering paperwork, which if you try to navigate as a foreign buyer by yourself without assistance, it can be extremely frustrating and it feels like going around in circles. Especially with our banks, the way, the way they communicate and...
or they don't sometimes.
Or they don't, a very common issue that we have with some banks, okay, not all, is that they'll give us a list of the paperwork that they need. We will supply them with those documents. The buyer thinks, oh, that's it. And then the bank will come and ask for more information, which again can be frustrating. So imagine trying to navigate through all this compliance labyrinth, let's say, by yourself. So, I mean, that's why it's important to have people on your side, advisors that know how to help you, hold your hand basically through this process.
And how to protect you.
Exactly.
So, Eleni just answered all my questions without even
Reading
them through. Seriously. The only thing I have left, let's say, it's what should buyers always verify before signing a property contract in Cyprus?
So, just so that we can put the answer into context, generally, when you're buying a property in Cyprus, whether you're buying something which is brand new, off plan, under construction, or even resale, generally the process starts with the payment of a reservation deposit. So the reservation deposit takes the property off the market for a period of time to allow the property due diligence work to be carried out, and also the KYC and anti-money laundering due diligence to be done. So step one is the payment of the reservation. Now, step two, once all the due diligence has been done, step two is the signing of the actual contract of purchase. Okay, so during this reservation period, all the information has to be collected regarding the property. So you find out if there are any problems with the property, but you also go through all the KYC documents, provide them to the bank and get the okay from the bank to transfer funds. Which means when you get to stage two, which is the signing of contracts,
you're ready.
It means you know that the property is clear, unencumbered, or all the permissions are in place and all of that. But at the same time, you've passed through the banking AML process, which means you sign the contract and then you're ready to make the payment, which is usually between 30 and 40% of the purchase price. You're ready to pay that amount. So whatever was done before. Now, to get to stage two, signing of contract, the lawyer would have also negotiated the contract with the seller or the seller's lawyer. A lot of times, if the seller is a developer, they will have their in-house sort of legal team. So the contract terms are negotiated. And then, so when you get to stage two, the contract has been negotiated, clauses have been added for the protection of the buyer. and everything, all the attachments, all the plans, everything that's been agreed are attached to the contract.
So most of the procedure is already done.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Did you find that, okay, because we know that a few years ago we had quite a few issues, the way that the whole system was structured, too many loans, banks involved, the ease with which these loans were handed over to the actually sometimes handed over to the developer, to the developers, and so we had to go and change a few stuff in the legal system with specific performance, the trap buyer laws. Do you feel we are in a better place today? That's the first question. And second one, in this involvement, and this is actually a question I remember that I asked again here, but do you see that the changes they're trying to make into making all of the processes more digital, they have started helping, or is it still too early and we're still in the stage that people are still trying to get familiar with everything and maybe actually not helping yet?
Okay. Let's deal first with the first bit.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, we've had problems. I think anyone who has tried to Google title deeds Cyprus will tell you that we've had problems.
Yeah.
Okay, but you also have to understand that we came from a land registry system that had almost not evolved, let's say, since we were a British colony. So I remember when I first started working that the land registry were in the process of putting all the information from the huge, big, massive books that everything, the title deeds were handwritten in these books, actually digitalizing things and putting them on software so that this information would be available by printing the information instead of handwriting it. So we've come a long way, I would say, in the last 25 years, okay? The system couldn't cope with the big development and all the big bubble with the property market in Cyprus. So there was a desperate need for change.
Right.
Okay, so the first change with the tract or block title deed legislation was useful. It has helped people. But it's not a one cure fits all. So there may be buyers that are still blocked, still can't get out of it.
Makes sense.
Well, it depends on the reason why they got blocked in the first place.
Hence why I say it might make sense.
Exactly.
It's difficult to just say, this is it.
Exactly. But it was a good step in the right direction. Mind you, in brackets, there have been delays with that. There have been block title deeds applications that we've been waiting for like 7 years for them to be processed. So there are problems, but it was a step in the right direction. Okay. Now, in the olden days, we couldn't even lodge assignment contracts. And then they changed the law in 2011, and we got rid of those cancellation fees that developers were charging and holding buyers at ransom. So over the years, starting from 2011, then 2015 with the block title deeds law, and then gradually there have been changes to improve the experience, the buyer's experience. The land registry systems have evolved as well. You now have the DLS portal. A lot of the information is online.
True.
You can actually see where your property is through the satellite systems. So it's becoming more people-friendly, and people have access to a lot more information now directly without actually needing to physically go into the land registry to get serviced. However, we have a very long way to go still before we can say that we're ready to have some kind of electronic conveyancing system like they do in the UK. So we are still a long way from something like that. And funnily enough, that's something that I've been considering, maybe, I don't know, doing some kind of paper on this, how to make it all digitalized so that it's a better experience for the buyer. I believe eventually we're going to get there. Okay. Now with the new tax reform, it's good for people to know that stamp duty has been abolished on contracts, which again is a great help for people buying.
And it was actually causing even delays at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Since COVID, it was taking about 2 weeks for just a simple stamping,
My God.
which previous to that, we would stand in the queue at the Inland Revenue, let's say 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you pay the stamp duty and you get the stamp. And post-COVID, it was put it in this box, wait for it, 2 weeks. So that was delaying things. That's been abolished. So again, a good step in the right direction. So I do feel that steps are made and we will eventually get to a place where things will be done, primarily online.
But like,
watch this space.
on the first bit, which is, I guess, the most important one, how protected the buyer is, based on my experience, knowledge, etc., and from what you're saying, we are in a really, really good spot right now. I mean, provided the right due diligence is done from the beginning, etc., etc., it's quite difficult, I could even say, for a buyer to not know the full picture.
Yeah. Now, it's important for people to understand, because we've got something that is called specific performance. Okay, this specific performance protection is actually in the law. It's in statute. It's written down. It is an English law idea, okay, but in England it's equity. So it's not written, and this is if you need to, let's say, take someone to court, you go to the equity courts.
Okay.
Now, when we became a British colony and the British actually arrived, they basically found this situation where, and because land is very important to the Cypriots, they had found a situation where there was no good system of land registration. There were disputes. Pieces of land might have been sold a couple of times to different people. So when initially the first legislation was done, basically to put in some kind of order to the how things were working with land and sales and things like that, the British actually made specific performance. They wrote it down. So it's a great thing to have, because it makes buyer's protection as part of the law, and it's very clear. So once you have adhered to the rules prescribed in the law, you have protection as a buyer, and the seller cannot cheat you, gazump you, as people say in the UK. And the specific performance law is that which gives buyers protection also until their title deeds are issued by developers. So provided you've got your contract lodged at the land registry, and provided that everything, the due diligence has been done previously, even if the developer was to try to cheat you by selling this property to somebody else, they couldn't do it, because the contract, the specific performance, effectively is a charge against the land on which the property is being built. So it's amazing, because you can go straight to court with that without needing to
argue anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Well, thank you very much. And as a closing remark, I wanted to ask you, how do you see the future? I'm not asking you to become an oracle. I'm just, based on what you described, the development that you described, the evolvement, the threats, what do you feel? How optimistic are you for the next 2 years? Let's not...
Okay.
And before you finish that,
Yes.
I want one legal recommendation to somebody who's going to be investing in Cyprus. One, the most important. Take your time.
One, plan correctly. Choose your advisors properly.
Okay.
And buy from Domenica.
And buy from Dominican Group. Because
Use
you won't
us.
have
One-stop shop for relocation needs.
Yeah.
Now, if I said I'm not an optimist, I would be lying. So generally, I'm very optimistic as a person. I'm not, however, delusional when it comes to the speed at which things happen in Cyprus. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to lie to any one of our viewers, or, things take time in Cyprus. Okay. Cyprus is an amazing place to live. It continuously improving. The lifestyle that it offers for families, for all round, it is amazing. But if you're looking for a place that is very fast administratively, this is not the place. So things are improving. We see positive steps, but I think things are still slow. I don't see things becoming faster, but the good thing is that things are moving, but slowly. So that's my
Are we
that's
ever
my
gonna
take.
catch up? Because as we need like 5 years to get there is not there
It's going to be
anymore. Yeah.
correct. Yeah. I can't tell you that. I cannot tell you that. I just I hope that with the foundations having been covered, our future progress is going to be at a faster pace. This is all that I hope, that we're not going to stay with the baby steps that we're doing now, that we actually eventually start to run. But watch this space. Let's see.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah.
You want to give gifts?
Yes, of course.
Oh, I get a goodie bag.
Yes.
Aha. Thank you.
Here you
Invite
go.
me more often.
We will on season 3.
Season 3.
See what changed.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to the podcast. And
It's a
thank you
pleasure.
everyone for watching us again, and see you on the next
Thank you
episode.
for watching.
Thank you.
Cheers.